Boy, did I pick a great day to do this. It's raining, but that's okay because we're driving a vehicle that is meant to go off-roading, and it's very trendy these days to have a sub-brand dedicated to your off-road vehicles. Subaru is no exception to that with their wilderness vehicles. I'm Niall, this is Test Drive, it's raining, let's hit the road. Yes, we are behind the wheel of this 2024 Subaru Outback Wilderness. Now, the Wilderness is a new sort of sub-brand here that Subaru has come out with. It actually started with the Outback and essentially is a off-road oriented set of features available as a trim, and it's more or less across the board for all of Subaru's vehicles, or it will be. The idea is this will be their more off-road oriented vehicle, sort of the maximum outdoor adventure type of vehicle. And there is some stuff that comes on this vehicle that gets you some extra kit. It's not fully loaded, but comes pretty well equipped for about $47,000 Canadian, or about $43,500 in the US. Now, there are a couple differences between the US and Canadian market vehicles. You can add on a package in the US that adds a sunroof, which we get on this trim, but you also get navigation, something that we do not have on this. We have wireless Apple CarPlay, that works fine, but if you wanted to get navigation, something that you get with the US model. And also we get wireless phone charging, which is something that you have to add on in the US. I think it's like $300 and something US for it. I find that with my iPhone 12 Pro Max, it gets way too hot. If I put it in there for any period of time, pretty much doesn't charge it. Phone just gets really, really hot. And the wireless Apple CarPlay actually just overheats the phone anyway. It's not that old, it's only about 3 years old, so I'm wondering if it's more of a me issue or if it's a Subaru issue. But we do find that any of the wireless phone chargers that don't have a ventilation system built into it do tend to overheat the phones and don't really do a good job. So at least in the States, personally, I would skip that option. I try not to use it here just because, like I said, it's not helpful for me in my situation. So the engine in this vehicle is a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder boxer engine. It produces 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, and it comes with a CVT, or continuously variable transmission. Now, Subaru says that they have simulated 8 gears with it, and yeah, I mean, there are flappy paddles. I could put it into second and then, oh, no, now it went up. I don't know. I mean, there's a manual mode. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about CVTs at length. They certainly are not the enthusiast's choice for a transmission, but, you know, for kind of what the vehicle is, gets the job done. Now, back in 2020, we did a pretty comprehensive review on the Subaru Outback when it first launched this generation. We talked about 2 different trims, both engines, and sort of, you know, the top end trim in Canada. And then I believe it was the trim just below this, at least now, because the Wilderness came out a couple years ago. So if you want to know absolutely everything there is to know about the Subaru Outback, definitely check out that video. It will be linked right in the top, as well at the end of this video. Not much has changed. I mean, 23 was a bit of a facelift, not for the Wilderness. That's the 24, and you'll notice that the front end of this car is quite different from a 23 Wilderness. The grille has changed up a little bit, making it a little bit more aggressive, but then the bumper cladding, right, the plastic unpainted portions of the trim have gotten more pronounced, a little bit more squared off. I think it looks good. I mean, it's a very rugged design, and that's what Subaru's going for with this vehicle. They want it to be used for off-roading, not climbing up Moab, but more like somebody who's taking it down to one of our national parks or a provincial park here in Ontario, spending the day there or even the weekend camping, doing outdoor activities, putting stuff on the roof, because you do get an extra, I think it's up to 700 pounds of total capacity on the roof compared to the regular Outback. So they've improved the carrying capacity up there. The exterior bits, the gold accents that you can find on the front, back, and on the top, they're not just for aesthetics, they are functional. They show you where the mounting points would be for the tow hitches, or on the roof where your cross rails would go. So they're functional elements to this vehicle that make it worthwhile. You have like a front shield guard for your engine. So there's a couple other things there, like a rock guard. You know, it makes it a little bit more off-roady. And then the tires too. These are more off-road type tires with very thick rims. You know, they look very utilitarian, but they work, they're functional. I've had no problems with it. It's not like some other vehicles out there that are meant for off-roading, and then it makes the whole experience on-road terrible. And let's be honest, unless you're living in the forest, you're not going to be spending your entire time off-road with this. You got to go get groceries, you got to go to work, back and forth to school, things like that. You're going to be on the pavement, and this works really well. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it's smooth. Seating space is good in here. The interior size and everything, very nice. We have to think back to the Honda Passport Trail Sport that we just featured a couple weeks ago, because it too is a mid-size crossover, and it too is meant to be sort of an off-roady exploration vehicle. Two major differences with that. Number one, price. That vehicle was $53,000 Canadian. This is $47,000, so you're saving $6,000. And the equipment's pretty similar. Heated front seats, heated rear seats, dual zone climate control, wireless Apple CarPlay versus the wired on the Honda, sunroof, things like that, all the safety tech. We've got adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, all that sort of stuff. Subaru actually does a really good job with their adaptive cruise control. There are some different settings to be able to adjust how aggressive that adaptive system is. So if there's vehicles in front of you, it's either going to start slowing down really early or a little bit later, depending on how you like it. So there are a few things on this vehicle that you don't get elsewhere. So compared directly to the Honda, it's a very good value proposition. The other thing that this has over the Honda is fuel efficiency. Very similar numbers, but as we mentioned this past week when I was driving the Honda Accord Touring Hybrid, I am starting to do my fuel economy testing again. And as always, we try to standardize things. So any of the reviews that I'm doing, we take the vehicles on the exact same driving situation, at least. Can't obviously adjust for temperature and weather conditions, but it is the same route. So for our 100 kilometer test loop, this Subaru completed it in 8.6 liters per 100 kilometers, and the US miles per gallon is below in the lower third, as it always is, and it was 0.01 liters per 100 kilometers better than it was on the Passport. Passport did 8.7 liters, so a little bit better for fuel efficiency. I'd say a better value proposition overall. Drives really nicely, very good amount of space on here, no complaints whatsoever. It's quiet, comfortable, all that, everything that I just said is really good on this vehicle when you compare it to the Honda. Honda just costs more. So if you're really in the market for either of these types of vehicles, if you do a lot of outdoor stuff, and maybe you do like the idea of having something that's a little bit more rugged than what you would get with your typical crossover or SUV, then again, compared to these two, I would absolutely take the Subaru before I would take the Honda. You're saving $6,000. That's a lot of money. You can use that money for quite a lot of gas, right? $6,000 worth of gas, it is quite a lot of savings. And again, for the most part, they're very similar on paper and everything else. So comparing those two directly, for me, it would be a no-brainer. And for the most part, I've enjoyed my time with it. The auto stop start system, a little finicky, but gets the job done. We've talked about it before. And engine overall, having the more powerful engine on this vehicle definitely has the pick up and go. I would not go for the regular engine that comes on this, the non-turbocharged version. It's like 186 horsepower or something like that. It's quite underpowered compared to this. So we talked about it again back in 2020. You can take a look at that video if you're really interested, but this is kind of the one to go for. You're getting almost everything that you really need out of it. There's nothing that's missing for this price point. And again, compared to the direct competition, this is extremely attractive. So there's a lot going for it. I can see why these are picking up in popularity. I don't necessarily see a lot of the Outbacks, but as Subaru is rolling out their Wilderness trim along the board and really putting money behind it and advertising the fact that this is really the vehicle for people that do outdoor kind of stuff, I think we'll be seeing a whole lot more of them and people will enjoy them. I've certainly liked my time with it here, and again, no major complaints. But if you like this episode of Test Drive, you gotta hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We appreciate all your support here. We have a membership section as well now. You can get some exclusive stuff by taking a look at that. That is linked in the description below. But as always, we really appreciate you watching our videos here. So if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, please leave them below and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.